In June 1945, as the Hellcats were navigating minefields to reach one of the last remaining refuge of Japanese shipping in the Sea of Japan, USS Tirante was simultaneously conducting its own bold attacks in the other remaining hotspot of Japanese shipping, the shallow coastal waters of the Yellow and East China Seas. There, cautious coast huggers remained close to land masses during the day and holed up in anchorages at night where they could only be ferreted out by daring incursions into dangerous shallow waters. Launched in Portsmouth, New Hampshire in the summer of 1944, Tirante was the fourth of the new Tench class of submarines, incorporating improvements and lessons learned in the early years of the war. Tirante and the Tench boats benefited from better interior machinery, larger motors, and rearranged ballast tanks for better hull strength. Tirante also carried 4 additional torpedoes in her load, which included a mix of older Mark 14s modified to eliminate the frustrations of earlier war years, and newer Mark 18 electric wakeless torpedoes preferred for daylight attacks. Her armament also consisted of multiple 40mm and 20mm weapons, as well as the new 5-inch 25 caliber deck gun developed specifically for submarines, with a shorter barrel allowing for greater accuracy when fired from a submarine's heaving deck. Despite possessing the latest advances in equipment and training, Tirante's commissioning in November of 1944 and her late entry into the war meant that depleted Japanese shipping would be hard to find. However, like their namesake the Tyrant fish, known for attacking without hesitation, the bold tactics devised by her captain, Lieutenant Commander George L. Street III, and aggressively carried out by her crew, which showed the Japanese there was no avoiding her submarines, even in the shallows. After final preparations at Pearl Harbor, Tirante embarked on her first war patrol in March 1945. Initially, Tirante found good hunting west of Kyushu in the approaches to Nagasaki, sinking 5 enemy cargo and transport ships in 2 weeks. However, the dearth of night traffic across the Yellow Sea was almost sure proof that most of the merchant fleet was anchoring somewhere. Intelligence reports indicated it might be off Quelport Island. Using a captured enemy chart, Tirante entered the anchorage for a daring night surface attack. After navigating the harbor through mines, shoals, and surface vessels, past enemy radars, patrol planes, and shore batteries, Tirante found and torpedoed a 4,000-ton ammunition ship, sinking it in a blinding explosion. Almost immediately, 2 enemy anti-submarine escorts began pursuit. Heading back out to sea at flank speed, Tirante launched a spread of torpedoes, destroying both escorts before retiring to the safety of deeper water. Tirante's second patrol started out in much the same way as the first, with the boat once more underway to the Yellow Sea to penetrate Japan's shallow water sanctuaries. This time, Tirante had a special motion picture camera on board, courtesy of the Kodak Company, to document their adventures in full Technicolor. On June 11th, Street gave a repeat performance of his shallow water hit-and-run technique. Under cover of darkness, Tirante inched her way into Hashima Harbor, some 7 miles from Nagasaki, taking aim at a 2,200-ton transport moored alongside a colliery on the tiny island topping an underground coal mine. 2 down-the-throat torpedo shots succeeded in destroying not only the targeted freighter, but also a large section of the dock and a portion of the colliery. Illuminated by the glare of the exploding ship, Tirante came under a hail of gunfire from the surrounding bluffs, making it to open sea just ahead of falling bombs from an approaching plane. A frustrating lack of torpedo-worthy targets followed Tirante's early success at Hashima. For the next several days, Tirante conducted close inshore reconnaissance sweeps of possible anchorages, taking pictures of coastal features, buildings, and radar stations, even investigating a possible Japanese submarine base. Then on June 21st, Street learned of a large number of small junks in the northern Yellow Sea smuggling critical supplies to Japan, giving the crew a welcome chance to put into action a tactic they had been developing since their first patrol. Under the lead of Lieutenant Endicott "Chub" Peabody, former Harvard All-American football player and future governor of Massachusetts, the crew had developed a procedure for battle surface and boarding. The boarding party, dubbed Peabody's Pirates, consisted of 10 men recruited from the 5-inch 25 caliber gun crew. Tirante's procedure remained the same with each junk encountered. After partially disabling it with deck gun fire, half of the boarding party, armed with pistols, hand grenades, rifles, and Tommy guns, would embark, take the skipper prisoner, and set the crew adrift in the lifeboats, providing them with a supply of fresh food and directions to the nearest land. Meanwhile, the second wave would set the junk afire, then, when back aboard Tirante, finish it off with a blast from the deck gun. Average time per sinking, 20 minutes. In this manner, Tirante and Peabody's pirates accounted for a dozen such junks, confiscating important intelligence and depriving the Japanese of vital supplies. Considered one of the outstanding patrols of World War II, Tirante's first patrol earned Lieutenant Commander Street the Medal of Honor, and the boat a Presidential Unit Citation. Her second patrol earned the skipper a Navy Cross. Together, Tirante's 2 patrols summed up the changing nature of the war in the Pacific in the closing months of World War II. With more and more American submarines returning with almost full loads of torpedoes and frequently relegated to mopping up the few remaining smaller craft with deck guns, it was evident the war was nearly over.